Somebody once told me the world is gonna roll me. I ain't the sharpest tool in the shed. She was looking kind of dumb with her finger and her thumb in the shape of an L on her forehead. Well,
what's up, guys? My name is Jordan Kahn. And it's Big Dog Friday. We are back with another banger of a video. Today we asked Dr. Malrady for a Galapagos tortoise or a leatherback sea turtle. But guess what? He got us something even better. He got us a red-eared slider. That's right, Trachomis scripta elegans, a red-eared slider. These are native to states along the Mississippi River, but they are invasive in many other states and other countries around the world. But we love the red-eared slider. They are one of the most common pet turtles that people have. So they are great pets and they're great turtles in general. Dr. Klingler was hitting us with so many turtle facts. I could not remember any of them, but we are going to share them all with you. You know, we had my amazing lab group, Laura Zimmerman, Emily McLeod, and MJ Jiang, and they absolutely killed it. So without further ado, let's get into the turtle facts. Would you look at the time? It's turtle time. And since we're talking turtles, we gotta start with the shell. So the shell has two parts, the carapace on top and the plastron on the bottom. And they are connected by areas on the sides called bridges. Now the shell is way more complex than I thought. I never fully understood how crazy the shell is. It is fully innervated. Turtles can feel through their shell. Dr. Klingler said if you scratch a turtle on its back in the right spot, it'll start kicking like a dog. I don't know if that's fully true. I've never seen a turtle do that, but that is a Dr. Klingler fact that he wants you guys to know. All right, so the turtle shell also has layers to it. So the innermost layer is made up of skeletal and dermal bone, and the outermost layer consists of keratinized scutes, and these scutes are made from the same materials as our nails and hair. And there's also a subcutaneous layer, a few cells thick in between these two layers. All right, so let's go through the bones of the carapace because there are a good amount of them and they all have specific names. So they include the costals, which are a combo of fused ribs and fused dermal bone. Then we have the nuchal bone cranially, and the pygal and the suprapygal caudally. And we got the neurals down along the center, which are fused to the vertebrae. And then we also have these peripherals all around the rim of the carapace. All right, let's hit the bones of the plastron. So these plastron bones are collectively referred to as gastralia, and they include the epiplastra, entoplastron, hypoplastra, and xipiplastra. All right, so now since we hit all the bones, let's go to the scutes on the outer layer. And these all have specific names as well. So back to the carapace, we have the vertebral down the center, plurals surrounding those, marginals along the outer rim, and one cervical scute at the most cranial part. And the scutes of the plastron include the gulars, the humerals, the pectorals, the abdominals, the femorals, and the anals. All right, that is a lot of names, but that encompasses the turtle shell, which is so cool. I also wanted to point out that the bones and the scutes do not match up with each other on the shell. They actually are arranged in this overlapping fashion. Basically, many of the scutes are aligned so that the suture joints between the underlying bones are in the middle of the scutes above them. And that increases the strength of the shell, and that can be demonstrated here by this Lego overlapping technique to provide strength within the Lego structures. That is crazy. And it gets even crazier. Can you believe it? So if we look at this cross section here of the bony part of the carapace, we can see even more features. Here are the fused ribs of the costal bones that are joined by this suture region. We can also see that the bone itself has a dorsal and ventral cortex with a cancellous or spongy core in between them. This feature is very important because it provides an impact-resistant quality to the shell. Therefore, the shell has a better chance of withstanding sudden forces without breaking or deforming. And because of this, there is a lot of biomimicry research going on as scientists are trying to incorporate turtle shell technology into protective materials, safety gear such as helmets, construction materials, cars, and even aerospace armor. I don't even know what that is, but that is the current research going on, and that is all thanks to turtles. Wow. All right, now that we know all about shell anatomy, we gotta talk about them next. And to do that, we gotta hit our faxonomy. That's right, faxonomy. Shout out to Henry DeWitt for inventing that word. We love facts and taxonomy. So, we have reptilia. That is the class for all reptiles. And then we're going to move to the order Testudines, and that includes all turtles. And this is where it gets interesting. We have two living suborders within Testudines, and that is the Cryptodires and the Pleurodires. And what separates these two suborders? Well, that is their neck anatomy and their cervical vertebrae anatomy more specifically. So the Cryptodires are more common. Most of our turtle species fall into that category, including our red-eared sliders. And then we have the Pleurodires, which are only found in the southern hemisphere. So what's up with their necks? So the Cryptodires retract their necks straight back into their shells because their cervical vertebrae are arranged in a vertical S-shaped curve. And then we have the Pleurodira, which are also referred to as side neck turtles. They bend their necks laterally, sweeping it to the side and tucking it underneath the edge of their carapace of their shell. Their cervical vertebrae are arranged in a horizontal S-shaped curve. My favorite Pleurodira turtle is the eastern long-necked turtle. Look how long their necks are. They are native to southeastern Australia. And I think it's so cool that even though their necks are so long, they still found a way to get their head under their shell. That is awesome. Shout out turtles. All right, guys, let's keep the facts going. So with the turtle cardiovascular system, it is very similar to the lizards, which I explained in the anole lizard video. So you can go watch that to learn all about the turtle's three-chambered heart. With the GI system, there's not many differences to our own. They have all the major organs, and yes, Dr. Mosier, they do have gallbladders. What I really want to talk to you guys about is how turtles breathe. All of their ribs are fused and they don't have a diaphragm. So how the heck do they get air into their lungs? Well, I'm gonna tell you, but let's start from the beginning. So turtles breathe through their nares or nostrils. The air then goes through their trachea, which in most turtles has complete cartilaginous rings, similar to birds. After the trachea, the air will move into the paired bronchi and then finally into the lungs where gas exchange occurs. The turtle lungs are located directly beneath the carapace and vertebral column, and they take up a lot of space in the shell. Look at these radiographs here to see how big those lungs are. So now let's answer the initial question of how turtles inspire and expire. They do this through a combination of muscles and limb movement. The main muscles that allow for inspiration are the serratus dorsalis muscles. These muscles originate on the cranioventral aspect of the carapace and insert on the coracoid of the scapulae. When they contract, they pull the shoulder girdle cranially, which expands the coelomic cavity or the body cavity and draws air into the lungs. Extension of the front limbs also has a similar effect in terms of inspiration. Now for expiration, they have the transversus abdominis muscle and the posterior limiting membrane, and these are situated in the caudal portion of the shell. When the transversus abdominis contracts, it compresses the visceral organs that are in the coelomic cavity, and this causes the posterior limiting membrane to compress the lungs and push the air out. Also, tucking of the limbs is a compressive movement that can help with expiration. I think it's absolutely crazy how all that works. I feel like you guys right now are wishing that you all had shells just like I am. All right, let's talk about how to get a blood sample from our awesome turtle patients. First off, does anyone know what the maximum amount of blood we can safely take from any type of patient is? Yes, you in the back. What was that? That's right, good job. 1% of an animal's body weight within a 2-week period. That is the correct answer. So let's do some quick maths. So let's say our turtle is 4 pounds. We need to get that to kilograms first. So we're going to divide it by 2.2. We're going to get about 1.8 kilograms. And that is 1,800 grams. So if we take 1% of 1,800 grams, we are going to get 18 milliliters of blood. So we can safely take 18 mils from our turtle patient. And that is way more blood than we will ever need. But I just wanted to point this rule out because it becomes a lot more significant in our tiny little patients. For example, you can only safely take 0.3 milliliters of blood from a little budgie, a tiny little parrot. So you may be wondering if that is even enough to run a blood test, because I was like, how can you do a blood test with only 0.3 mils of blood? But now there are very special exotic animal labs that can do blood tests with even less than that amount. So technology is getting wild. All right, sorry about all that math. Let's get back to the cool stuff. So with turtles, we have 3 common locations where we can do venipuncture. They are the subcarapacial venous sinus, which is right under the carapace, the dorsal coccygeal vein on the top of the tail, and the jugular vein, which are on the sides of the neck. This video here shows exotic.pet.vet, aka Dr. Sue, successfully drawing blood from the dorsal coccygeal vein. She is absolutely goated. I do want to mention an issue that I've seen while a vet was attempting to draw blood from the jugular vein in the neck. Basically, the turtle knew what was coming, so he kept retracting his head into the shell, and that made it almost impossible to get blood from his jugular vein. So what did we do? We were able to lure him out of his shell with a piece of fresh romaine lettuce. He loved it. And then when he stuck his neck out, we gently snagged his head so he couldn't retract it anymore. We quickly did the blood draw and we got him on his way. This is why I love exotic pet medicine, because you got to adapt to any type of situation in order to help your patients out. It is so much fun. We have made it to the final part of the turtle video. Let's go! Before we get to the shoutouts, I want to share some quick turtle clips with you guys. First off, this is a Florida softshell turtle that I found in the parking lot of the animal hospital I used to work at. There was no lake nearby, so I scooped him into a box and took him to the park so he could be back swimming with his turtle buddies. Why was he in the parking lot? Alright, this little guy right here is a painted turtle that was brought to the K-State Exotics department because someone found him in a dog's mouth. He had some puncture wounds in his plastron and carapace, so we were concerned that his lungs may have been involved in the wound as well, as we now know that the lungs are located directly under the carapace. We gave him a course of antibiotics and pain meds, which seemed to be helping, but I was actually shadowing a 4th-year student on this case, so I do not know what the end result was, but we gotta love them cliffhangers. Alright, lastly, this is a clip from the swamp. Shout out Gainesville, Florida. I saw an alligator do a death roll, and then all of a sudden, there was a big round bulge in its body. I'm pretty sure Buddy ate a fat turtle. Pretty cool to see, but RIP to the turtle. Now it is time for the shoutouts. First off, shout out to our red-eared slider. We learned so much about the species, and I am so grateful that I could pass that knowledge on to others. Next, we have Dr. Klingler. Dr. Klingler can teach a whole class on just turtle anatomy. He is crazy with the turtle facts. I think he's secretly a ninja turtle. Next, shout out Dr. Mulready. Dr. Mulready continues to get us these amazing specimens week after week. He always comes through. I don't know how he does it, but he is the GOAT of anatomy. Next, we have a special shout out. Shout out to Ruth DeWitt. Ruth came in clutch by getting me this Kirkland tequila, and I cannot thank her enough. W Ruth, W Kirkland tequila. And lastly, shout out to Emily McLeod, Laura Zimmerman, and NJ Jong. I could not have asked for a better lab group. Thank you guys so much for watching this video, and I will see you on the next Big Dog Friday. Peace out.